You're listening to Real Crime, the Movie Sleuth podcast.
What did you assholes do without me?
A lot of stuff.
Sure, you did some pretty good shows.
Yeah.
Well, we did the one show.
Yeah, we
did the one show, the Robin Williams show.
Oh man, you know what? I'm really happy I wasn't here for that because I wouldn't have been able to keep my eyes dry the whole time.
Yeah, it was actually, it was pretty eye-opening. A lot of the stuff that we talked about, I hadn't seen.
I couldn't.
And hearing them talk about it was really cool. It makes me I'm going to watch a lot more of it.
You should. Yeah, I remember now it's coming back to me because the last couple weeks have been kind of a blur. But I remember that you guys were doing that. I'm like, thank goodness. Yeah, you guys have fun with that. I'd love to be up. I would, of course, I would love to do that. But at the same time, it's like, man, it's a fucking bummer.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it was a fun show. It was a good show.
It was a good.
No offense,
show.
I didn't listen because I just don't. Well, I should listen to that because I'm not on it.
You're not on it.
Yeah.
So I should go back and listen to that because I would actually probably really enjoy it because I'm not there. That's just my thing, This is Real Crime, episode number, oh my dear God, 94.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it?
It's been a while.
Couple years now.
It's been a little while for us.
Yep.
That beautiful day where we were laying in bed together, Chris, and you're like, hey, I think we should start doing a podcast. And I'm like, that's great. Roll over and finish the job. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, we're going to call it Pillow Talk.
Yeah, that's what Pillow Talk. That was our Pillow Talk.
It was going to be called Pillow Crime. Hands between my cheeks.
Got him.
Interesting show we have. Something totally new, but there's a lot of stuff to talk about before that. So I do give the floor to the lovely Chris.
So first thing, got to mention our sponsors, the Flint Institute of Arts. I was actually back out there last night at the Whiting for the premiere of Michael Moore's new movie, Fahrenheit 11/9. Mm-hmm. Really, really cool film. Out of all of Michael Moore's movies so far, he actually, the movie is about Trump and the rise of Trump and how he came to power. But for the first time, Michael Moore actually, it's not all slanted. He actually kind of rails on Obama in this movie quite a bit too. So it was actually pretty neat seeing him adjust his view to something different.
Being more objective.
So,
and that's the I don't want to take us down to this political angle, but that's the biggest problem I think that American media has right now is that everything's so polarized. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, and this was not. He really dove into all ends of the spectrum. So
cool.
Anyways, make sure you check out the Flint Institute of Arts, also projectorscreen.com, and our wonderful, wonderful sponsors that will be back next week from Cellarman's.
Yeah.
Bitch, this is good shit.
I really want some more of that raspberry mead.
Dude,
that stuff was
fucking
phenomenal.
Coffee cider is where it's at with those guys. Just have mastered the art of fucking up my taste buds, man.
Yeah,
that place is awesome. Yeah, you have not been to Cellarman's. There's something seriously wrong with you.
Yeah,
it's
good stuff.
Coffee cider?
Coffee cider.
That sounds amazing.
They brought it here last time they were here.
Monday, you should come.
It was amazing.
You should pick me up from school. We'll go get sushi, lunch, and then we'll go to Cellarman's.
And get hammered.
Coffee cider.
Yeah.
They'd love to have you.
Take an Uber.
They love people. They love having people there. People are great. They're welcome there.
Yes.
To drink their hard work that they do nothing but clean for.
Yeah, that sounds delicious.
Like they said, their hardest job is cleaning.
80%.
Not even prepping or making.
80% of their job is cleaning, man. It's a ton of work, and they really. I mean, if you've been there, we'll move on here to say, but if you've been there, you get to see. I mean, you can see their whole operation. They'll open the doors up and show you all the big kennels and stuff. It's fucking cool as hell.
Yeah.
It's really neat. So beautiful place, Cellarman's. You're an idiot if you don't go.
On the front page of the site, I just want to make sure everybody checks out our reviews of The Nun. We've got a new review of Searching, a review of Peppermint, and Michelle's review of The Predator went live today. So read about what a pile of shit that movie is.
That's so sad. I knew it was going to be bad, but
I really went in there with tempered expectations, give it the benefit of doubt,
man.
But then I was just like, wow, this is bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sucks.
So, in news this week, they came out with the estimated numbers for the summer at the box office. And this summer was actually huge. Movies at the cinema took in $4.38 billion
Really?
this year. So movies are back.
God damn.
Well, people got more money, I think, too.
Well,
Yeah.
plus,
Money's coming back.
do you think Movie Pass might have had something to do with that? Like just the fact that people were going to the movies more because they got
To a
that-
certain extent, yeah.
I don't know, like a huge percentage, but I feel like, even though they suck now, I think they were maybe good for just like
Just
making
for the
that
very beginning.
viable, like
Yeah.
Well,
an
giving,
idea.
giving people what they thought they didn't have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, that may be a big part of that. Good part
So-
of the show.
In other financial news, The Nun,
The fuck?
The Nun took in $130 million this weekend at the box office, which made it the biggest opening of any of the movies in the Conjuring series.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. I kind of liked it. A lot of people are bashing on
Alright,
it. It was
it's
okay.
Fun. It's jump scare city.
It had a lot of the atmosphere that The Conjuring 2 had, that same filming style and a lot of fog and a very gothic feel to it.
I
So,
still haven't seen the second one.
in other news, Derek
cool.
Mears, who played the Predator in Predators and also played Jason Voorhees at one point, they're saying that he is going to be playing Swamp Thing on the series on the DC streaming service.
Ooh.
And they said it was going to be R
Yeah.
rated
Yeah.
too.
Like hard R.
Yeah, I was like,
So-
The hard R.
I need some new
and it's a
panties.
physical suit.
Yeah.
It's not CGI. Either.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I need to read up on this news. I fell asleep earlier, so
And then
I was napping like an old lady.
Jason Blum came out yesterday and said that Blumhouse is actually planning on multiple sequels to the upcoming Halloween sequel that's being released next month. That they're estimating it's going to make a lot of money and they want to continue making more Michael Myers
Of
movies.
course.
It's a built-in audience, man. It's
Yeah.
easy.
it is.
It's easy.
It is pretty easy.
I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's
Yeah.
a franchise with a built-in audience. Just make the movies and they will come.
Well, and everybody that saw it at the premiere at TIFF said it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's the best one in the series since the original.
Wow.
I think the original is
It's a
super
bold statement.
fucking lame, but whatever.
The original?
Damn, really?
Yeah, man, that movie's boring as fuck.
We're going to start calling you Travis.
Yeah.
I basically
Damn.
invented the slasher genre. So.
That's cool though. I mean, I get it. I appreciate it. I'm just, I'm just not a Halloween fan.
To each his own.
Yep.
And then last but not least in news, Alien is getting a 40th anniversary documentary
I am
called Memory,
so excited
which is
for
only
that.
going to chronicle the making of the first movie and the creation of the creature and how Roger Corman was originally supposed to direct the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it. Okay.
Yeah.
In
Hooray!
I know.
Awesome.
in new releases this week, we've got The Predator, White Boy Rick, and A Simple Favor.
I want to see White Boy Rick.
What's
Yeah.
White Boy Rick?
You don't know who White Boy Rick is? Well, I mean,
He's a boy. He's white. His
Boy.
name was Rick.
there you go.
Saw that coming.
That's one fuck of a synopsis you got there, too. It's a very long story, but it's about a drug dealer from the 80s. He was a cocaine dealer in Detroit.
Oh.
Who got put away, and it's a long story, and I
I
want to
do know who that is.
Yeah, but I really want to see that movie. It'll be interesting to see something chronicled about that. There's been a ton of documentaries on the guy, of course, like on all the TV,
Yeah.
a lot of
I
TV
think
made for
that's
TV
how-
type things.
yeah,
So
that's-
it'd be
I
cool to
think
see a
that's how I
movie
know.
about the dude. It's
Oh,
something
yeah.
interesting. It's a piece of our, dare I say, it's a piece of our history here in Detroit.
Yeah. Well, it
Huge
is.
part of history.
Recent history.
Was it filmed here?
I don't know.
No. It's supposed to
of
all take
course.
place in Detroit, but it was all filmed, I believe, in Chicago. So, yeah, you know how that works.
And is simply
Snyder.
that Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively movie?
Oh,
is that
yeah,
what
I
that
think,
is?
I'm pretty sure.
I keep seeing previews for that. And I'm like, what is this movie?
I have no clue.
White Boy
like-
Rick.
White
Some
boy.
people think I'm not very nice. I was like, I don't care what this is. Ryan Reynolds makes your money. Bitch, stop.
Damn.
All right, suggested viewings this week. Does everybody have one this week?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, I do.
I forgot all about this. All right, go.
I'm actually kind of digging deep on this one because I actually watched this movie again the other night. I like really long movies and I like really good character studies. Blue is the warmest color.
Oh, okay.
I watched
still
it
haven't seen
again
it.
the
That's
other
good.
night, and that movie is it's absolutely amazing. There's so many just slow shots, just like centered on the main star, and there's no dialogue, but it just drags you in, and your eyes can't be taken off of what's happening on the screen.
Yeah.
So I actually love that movie. So that's mine for this week. I really don't have to say any more about it though. So
You've talked a lot about it though.
yeah, on and off. Mm-hmm. Michelle?
Well, in preparation to see The Predator, I rewatched the first two Predators, and mine's gonna be the first Predator, which every time I watch it, I just realize it's a fucking masterpiece. It's like just from beginning to end, awesome, and just everything about it, and that's especially watching the new one, it really made me appreciate like how well crafted the original movie really was,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
The first movie is so good that it looks too easy. You
Yeah.
know? It's
Like,
just
it's
so
simple and-
simple
yeah.
and just such a
executed perfectly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Like the flow of that movie is so good. Like there's never a wrong turn, or when they're walking through the jungle, you're never like, oh, he's gonna trip, or you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
it's all very centered and focused, and it doesn't seem muddy anywhere at all.
You know, and it makes
I
you
like that
realize
movie a lot.
it's hard to make a good, simple movie like that. You
Yeah.
know, you'd think it wouldn't be, but people keep trying it. And then the new Predator just came out, and then
Yeah.
one of the issues with it is it's like too much crap going on in it, and not and then the first Predator, it's just like guys in the jungle, something's killing something in the jungle. They
Yeah,
go there,
they
thing in
can't
the
see, and
jungle kills
Well,
them.
it-
and
that's
what-
not even why they're there. Too,
Well, I
you
know they're there because
It's
Yeah, but
tense,
that's
it's
what I
tense
mean,
as
like,
fuck,
it's
though.
awesome.
It's tense as
Yeah.
hell. The whole
Yeah.
thing, the tension's what makes it so exciting. Is there isn't all this insanity. There's not lasers flying all over the place and all shit blowing up, but you have this belly of tension the whole
Yeah.
way through, and that's what
cat
makes
and
it.
mouse kind
Yeah,
of,
and the first time you see a movie like that, you'll never get that feeling back.
Yeah.
That's just an incredible. The first time I saw Predator, I remember my jaw just being on the floor, going, "This movie's completely ridiculous, man. It's insane." So
Yeah.
you can't top that shit. Awesome flick, Heather.
So Shell Factory just released a Brain Scan, and I bought it. I actually pre-ordered it and got it in the mail as soon as it was like, hey, guess what? So I watched Brain Scan, and it stars Edward Furlong, and it's right after he made Terminator, so he's still fairly young in it.
Yeah.
He's a couple years older.
He's still like cute.
Yeah, it was actually came out in '94.
Not cute anymore.
So
Holy
shit.
if
Yeah,
you
he
think
got-
about it, he made Terminator first because he's like 11 in Terminator,
Mm-hmm.
and then I believe he's like 17 in Brain Scan. Yeah, God, 1994. The movie's so cool. I made Jesse watch because he's never seen it before,
Yeah.
and there's just so many. It's a really cool. This was when like video games were becoming
Yeah.
like console games and computer games and stuff like that, CD-ROMs and stuff.
I'll have
and,
to see it. I've never seen it before.
CD-ROMs.
well, it is. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what it
yeah.
was, But it's just really cool because that's what it is, and you think you're playing this
Yeah.
game. The whole movie is you playing a game. It's really neat,
Well, it also puts.
and there's great. Oh, dude, you'll love the soundtrack. The soundtrack is fucking dope.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it for sure because it sounds like it's something. I'd be
Honestly,
interested
it was after taxes. It's like $23,
That's not
shit.
too
and it's
bad.
on Amazon
know,
too. The same exact version.
a
Of the Shell Factory.
certain brick and mortar retail place. I ordered. We were talking about the Steelbook of Prince of Darkness.
yeah.
I ordered that thing a month and a week ago.
Yeah.
They sent me an email this week saying there's been a delay. We're really sorry. They're giving me my shipping back now. Still haven't received it yet. But at least they're keeping in contact with me. I shouldn't
Yeah.
be so harsh on them. But I'm still waiting for my Steelbook, my Prince of Darkness Steelbook by Blu-ray.
I'd be pissed.
I'm pissed.
livid.
Is the
Well, they're-
Steelbook out, or are they just is like the company that made the Steelbook?
I think it's out now.
It's out, but so many people pre-ordered it that it's sold out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that's because those scalpers do it too. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
been a thing where Best Buy released this Steelbook of Hocus Pocus that looks like the book, the
Yeah.
Otherbound book. And it was on sale for like $12.99,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm in like a bunch of Facebook groups that buy and sell stuff, and some guy literally bought it and then like had it in the Best Buy bag and was like held a picture of it and said $50.
Oh, what a
And
dick.
it's $12.99. And this one other guy was posting saying he saw some guy in there buying like 5 or 6 at a time. They just buy them all out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they just resell
Yeah,
them
they're
on eBay.
flippers. They're flippers.
Yeah.
They're pricks.
Oh,
I
that's
saw
so
one on sale
awful.
for $120.
Dirt
it's a
bag.
$12.99 movie.
Don't be a flipper.
I know it's terrible.
Don't be a flipper. Unless you're a flipper.
Be like
Especially
Scott.
for Hocus Pocus.
Don't
Like,
be
I
a
love
flipper.
it too, but it's not $120 good.
No,
Yeah, for real.
that's bullshit.
It's funny. I had that steel book in my hand the other day for $12.99. I was like, nah.
No, you
Man,
should have.
you could have paid your mortgage for your house with it.
I know.
Bought
Yeah.
a couple of them.
Yeah.
Apparently. All right, the one I got this week, I totally forgot about this segment because I'm just still
Yeah.
recovering.
You've been gone. That's cool. You're on
A
vacation.
band I saw, I was on my end of summer tour. Basically, I'm calling it the Scott Lambert end of summer tour, and I went to a couple of festivals, music festivals. Saw a band that I hadn't really, there's bands on the music side of things here. There's bands I'm sure we all we fall in love with at a certain point of our life and spend time with that band, and then you move on to other stuff, right? And you kind of shuffle them to the back of your mind. Well, a band that I saw a week and a half ago or whatever that I was just obsessed with when I was younger was a band called Woven Hand. I don't know if you guys ever heard of them before.
Nope.
They're very weird. Fuck you.
Dick.
They're a very weird indie bluegrass country dissonant strange mix of music.
Was this the chicks that were wearing diapers?
No, that's Bird Cloud.
Oh.
They're cool as shit too. I love them.
Is this porch sitting music?
No, this band's really
I love
massive
porch,
sounding.
Oh,
They're-
I love porch
but-
sitting music.
This band, Woven Hand, is fronted by a guy named David Eugene Edwards. He originally started his career out in a band called 16 Horsepower, which was, more Bob Dylan-esque type, bluegrass, like that type of stuff. But he does this band called Woven Hand. And I saw them play. I never saw them play when I was younger, but I had to see them in Cookeville, Tennessee, where I was at. And it just kind of lit that spark in me. I'm like, oh my God, this band, fuck, how could I walk away from this band? Oh
Yeah.
my God. I was just sitting there just getting my mind blown apart watching these guys play. So, of course, I come home with those trinkets in my pocket, and I immediately went back and pulled all my shit out and started listening to it again. And, of course, when you do that, you go onto the internets
Right.
and start searching around, wanting to know everything there is to know about people. You can do that now. And, of course, there is a great little documentary on David Eugene Edwards called The Preacher.
Really?
Yeah, and you can watch it on, these are the ones I love to throw out to people because, this is a 40-minute documentary. It's not much of I keep saying, it's not a huge investment of time. And it's a very directed documentary about this dude. And, and this documentary is actually kind of old. It's from 2001. And the guy's done a lot of shit since then.
Yeah.
Technically, this documentary isn't even really about Woven Hand, the band that I really love. But it's about this guy, and he's a fascinating guy. Just an amazing artist. So yeah, you can go on YouTube and just look up David Eugene Edwards documentary. It's called The Preacher. 40 minutes long. It's a great watch. You get to watch this guy jam and play, and what a voice, man. Just what an epic sounding voice this guy has. So I got to watch that. I think I watched it on Monday, and I really enjoyed it. And it popped
Yeah,
back in
that
my
you
head.
remembered it.
Yeah, so check that out if check out Woven Hand too. If you haven't
Yeah, I
heard
will.
Woven Hand or 16 Horsepower, I mean, if you're into like bluegrassy type of folk music but with a harder edge,
Mm-hmm.
dude, you can't go wrong with those guys. So that's my suggestion for this week.
Cool.
So what are we talking about tonight, guys?
We're talking
Sex.
about we're talking about
Underrated.
underrated movies.
Yes.
Okay.
About sex.
And I actually I was hoping to speak about it because I made a list of underrated movies, and then I was going through them, and thankfully I have Jesse as a boyfriend, and I live with him, so he was like, "That's not really underrated. An underrated movie is a movie that's been completely bashed and ruined by the critics, but isn't really that bad of a movie." And so my number one, or whatever, is Batman vs Superman. Of course, that movie is underrated, literally underrated. Everybody fucking
That was the
hated
darker.
it.
That was the dark one. See, I don't follow that stuff, but that was the dark one, right? That was the one where because I remember we talked about that,
Yeah, that was
a lot
when,
on here.
That was when Ben Affleck.
That was the
became
dark
Batman.
one.
That was
the
his first outing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Batman vs Superman.
Okay.
And I'd go as far to say as pretty much all of Zack Snyder's movies are underrated. Nobody likes Zack Snyder, apparently.
See, I do.
No, I love him.
Yeah, I like Zack
Yeah.
Snyder. Or
it's funny
zaddy,
because
as we call them.
it's funny because our buddy, our Canadian buddy Mike, he does not like Zack Snyder
No.
at all, and that's like the only thing that we all really butt heads on.
I think it's because Mike is a traditionalist as far as like comic book representation is concerned and movies.
Yeah,
like
that's
it has
because
to
he's
be
an
like
old man.
just like the comic.
Yeah.
Whereas Zack Snyder is more like interpretive of the comic. Like he'll take a comic book and then kind of boil it down to the essence of the character and then reapply it in
Yeah.
like a different way, which a lot of people don't like.
Well, isn't that what a storyteller is supposed
Well,
to
yeah,
do? You know?
I personally don't
Yeah.
require my comic book movies to be 100% accurate to the
No.
comic book because they're two different mediums anyway,
Yeah.
so there's going to have to be concessions
Yeah.
made when you translate it.
Like when this Swamp Thing series comes out, I'm going to be nitpicky, of course, but I'm also going to be as objective as possible. You know, like I
Yeah.
mean, I'm a huge Swamp Thing fan, so of course I hold it very close to me. But I'm also understanding that not everything has to, just get like the basic thing. Is what that's what I would like.
Yeah.
Just a basic.
Which I always
Thing.
I thought they did that in Batman vs Superman. There's
Yeah,
like basic
seriously.
Batman has this basic stuff. Now Superman, I will admit that Zack Snyder's Superman is completely different kind of from the comic book Superman.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
I
for
could
one,
see
he
why people
killed
got
somebody.
Yeah, I could see why people got mad about
Yeah.
Superman because Superman's a little different, but
Yeah, but it's still, I don't know, the way that the beautiful thing about Man of Steel was that Zack Snyder was showing Clark Kent. He wasn't showing Superman. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it was a totally different thing. So like the hard choices he had to make was a very human thing. Like Superman is the most human superhero, like that's his whole shtick. So I don't know. I thought Man of Steel was awesome, but Batman vs Superman, dude, I watched that Ultimate Cut like 10 times.
I think a lot
I
of people
love
didn't
that
watch the
movie.
Ultimate Cut also. They watched just the theatrical cut and was like,
Yeah.
fuck that movie.
Right,
And then
and
when it
then-
was like super butchered,
It
and
was super butchered.
I liked the theatrical cut when it came out, because I didn't know there was a different cut.
Yeah.
And then I watched the Ultimate Cut. I was like, oh man, they really tore that
Oh,
up.
sorry. I do that all the time. I'm sorry.
It comes
Eat the
through the
mic.
I
mic.
know. I'm sorry.
I can hear it.
I'm what's the word?
Oh,
Fidgety.
I'm twitchy. Yeah, I'm a little fidgety.
Come on, get it together.
I'm a tweaker.
Stop it before
But
we
yeah,
hurt you.
I think Batman vs Superman, the Ultimate Cut, definitely needs to be watched. If you didn't like that movie, for whatever reasons, it's probably because Batman is Ben Affleck, and I hate Ben Affleck, and whatever. I'm so
Well,
sick and tired of that shit. Like it's
so
the
much
Last Jedi stuff,
that-
oh God.
That cut is so much better than the theatrical cut because there's so much, even like the 12 or 15 minutes they added back in.
Yeah,
It
makes
adds so much
Oh my God.
into the story.
and
You
that's
learn so much more about the characters.
Yeah.
It's a really good example of what 15 minutes more of a movie can actually do. It changes the entire movie.
Yeah, yep.
Even with just like random edits of you looking at Lois doing something different than she did in the theatrical cut. Like that changes the entire movie.
Agreed.
Yeah, I actually think that's a good idea for another podcast. We have like a movie fight night.
Yeah.
And I will totally talk up Batman vs Superman on the thumbs up side.
Jello wrestling.
Yeah, for real. But
just a bunch of
that's
squishy
my number
noises.
one underrated movie is Batman vs Superman, and that's a really good starter off, I think, because
Yeah.
people
Well,
fucking hate it.
I'm going to kind of spout off of where you were at because one that I think is really underrated is also a Zack Snyder movie, which is Sucker Punch.
Oh, okay. I
Which-
still have not seen this.
The movie's great. It's a little, I think, too subversive for, general audiences didn't really get all the themes that were going on in the movie, but
That's that fantasy one, right?
Yeah,
With all the girls.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. I just want to make sure.
and it's sexy. I get it. A lot of people are like, oh, it's just about sexy girls with guns, blah, 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 blah. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
What is wrong with having sexy girls with guns in a movie
Right.
that actually has a really good story to it? You just have to pay attention and think about what's going on. But the visuals are phenomenal. in
They
that
also
movie.
fight robots.
Yeah.
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 Which is my favorite part.
From what I remember, that movie is just like a 14-year-old boy's like fantasy come true. You know, like it's just all this fighting and cool visual shit and just like, you know.
But what's wrong with that?
No,
you know,
nothing
and
at
so many
all.
people were excited for that movie, and then when it came out, they were like, "Oh, it's total shit." Blah 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 blah.
But why?
I don't know. I think they expected something more from it, but the soundtrack is amazing for this movie too. It's a very loud movie, but then it can be very subtle and very
Yeah.
quiet.
Oh, man,
and
Batman
then it
v
explodes
Superman.
again into these huge action set pieces.
Yeah.
Totally underrated.
Mm.
And you know, this was one of those movies that kind of changed people's view on Zack Snyder.
Oh,
I think
for the
a lot of
worse?
people liked him, you know, because a lot of people liked 300.
Yeah, yeah.
You
A
know,
lot of people did.
and then he
yeah.
did this, and a lot of people got turned off to him, which I just don't get
Was
because
that?
I love this
that was.
movie.
This was after Watchmen, right? Sucker
Yes,
Punch.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure it was.
I
I don't know.
He was already kind of under the.
I feel like it was 300, Sucker Punch, and then Watchmen.
Seriously?
Yeah, maybe it was.
God,
think
I
it was.
honestly, I barely remember when.
Because
I mean, I
all
remember
that
it
stuff
coming
kind
out.
of right by each other. Because once he made 300, he was like at the
On a
height.
roll,
Yeah,
yeah.
everybody wanted Zack
Yeah.
Snyder to do stuff. So and
Yeah,
then he made
it's
Sucker
so
Punch
funny.
and Watchmen, and I think. Yeah, I think. That's
I
the
get
order.
so much shit for liking Sucker Punch. Oh my god, I can't believe you like that movie. Let me like what I'm gonna like.
Right, I get shit for liking Batman vs Superman.
Michelle, what about you?
Okay, so the other day, Dave and I got really drunk, and so I bought.
We made our own movie that's not appreciated.
No.
It was 300,
Ow.
Watchmen, Legends of the Guardians, and then
Oh,
Sucker
I always
Punch.
forget he made that owl movie.
Yeah, the Owl movie is really cool too.
I never saw that one.
I never saw that one either.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It's fucking
Oh,
awesome.
Damn, I am.
Anyways, I'm sorry, Michelle. I didn't
Yeah.
mean to cut you off. Go
No,
ahead.
it's cool.
I forgot what I was saying. Oh, Dave and I got really drunk and,
And had sex.
So
Oh.
Jesus.
Damn it.
you guys are what?
Yeah,
Like,
mean,
oh
we-
my God, so we thought into that.
that's every Sunday.
So a long time ago, I bought this 2-disc set that had 2 Ernest movies on it for like $5 at Disc Replay, and we watched Ernest Goes to Jail.
Oh boy.
And dude, it was so fucking good though. Seriously,
Yeah.
like this is gonna be my underrated pick.
That dude was awesome.
Oh yeah. What was?
I feel
what's
like
his name?
Ernest.
Mayburn.
Yeah. There we go. Thank you.
Mayburn.
Ernest Goes to Jail, I think, is the best of the Ernest filmography. And here's why. Okay, so first off,
Ernest Library.
what's the guy's name that plays Ernest? I can't think of
I
it.
forgot his name.
You just said.
No, I know.
No,
that was what he used to
that's
say
not his
was
real-
Avern.
Oh, his
Yeah.
name is seriously
I
something.
mean, in the
Va-
movie, it's
Vaughn?
Ernest P. Worrell.
yeah.
Vern?
Chris is looking it up right now.
Yeah.
But
Something.
so I can't remember off the top of my head.
You
What
know, that
guy's
guy
name-
came from like a beer commercial, I thought, or something like that.
Jim Varney.
Jim
That's it.
Varney.
Jim
Jim
Varney.
Varney.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that
Jim
character-
Varney plays 2 characters in Ernest Goes to Jail. He plays, if you guys don't remember the movie, he plays an evil
Nobody
guy
does.
in prison that looks. So they look exactly the same, right? So he plays this evil guy that's in prison, and he plays like Ernest, right? So the evil guy in prison sees Ernest, and he's like, "Oh, I could swap places with Ernest, and Ernest will be in prison and take my." And he's on like death row, and then I can get out of prison and pretend I'm Ernest.
Yeah.
So, but Ernest plays this evil dude so fucking awesome. Like he has a lot of range.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, that's his
acting wise.
specialty, you know?
And he does all these impressions in it, and also so for some reason in the prison it's lit like a Refn movie, like it's all neon and it's like really intense, and all the guards wear like pink coats with big shoulder pads in them.
What?
And then Ernest gets electrocuted on the electric chair, and then he gets lightning powers where he can shoot lightning out of his hands. Dude, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. Like, I was like, how is this not won an Oscar of some sort? And it wasn't because I was like 6 beers deep either. Like, I feel
Yes,
like
it
it
was.
was a really good movie that people are like fucking sleeping on these Ernest movies.
Dude, Ernest.
And we watched
Scared
Ernest
Stupid.
Goes to Camp too.
Oh, that's a great
That's
one.
a classic.
And he Okay, so do you guys remember Ernest sang a ballad in that?
Yeah.
I totally spaced that
It's been
shit out
so
from
long
when I
since I've
was
seen
10
those flicks, man. There was about 15 minutes where that guy was like the biggest dude on the planet.
Yeah,
know,
and it was
dude.
all because of Ernest.
Well, it was,
I feel like I
thought-
need an Ernest Criterion Collection like box set to come out.
Dude, I would.
I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't, because they've done
Yeah.
like stuff
I
like that,
asked
weird
this before.
stuff.
I thought that character was born from like beer commercials. Some beer company used that. They I think he was a comedian. Or
Yeah.
He was a
He is,
comedian. He
yeah.
did do commercials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically, they spawned off of his commercials and doing a comic routine into doing the
Because it was
movie.
just so,
'Cause he's
those
had the
commercials
thing
were
where he
so
was-
addictive.
Where he was
People loved
talking to Vern, but it was like, he's talking to the camera.
it. Yeah, hey Vern.
Yeah.
Hey Vern.
Like Vern's like the camera, like, whatever. But
Yeah.
he's like, actually, like, there's a part in Ernest Goes to Jail where he's doing impressions. Like, he's trying he's doing impressions because he's trying to talk like the guy that replaced him, like the evil guy, and he's like trying out all these different voices, and he's so fucking good, and his facial expressions are great. He's like Jim Carrey before Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just had a good time going like back in time, but it was like a legit fun movie. It's like a fun cheesy movie. Like if you guys like are bored one night, have like 4 beers, fucking put on Ernest Goes to
You
Jail.
don't even have to have beers. I love Ernest.
Yes, I do.
So that
Ernest Scared
was my
Stupid
pick.
is literally
I love
my
that movie.
favorite.
I watched it every Halloween actually.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
a good one. I love that one. And that's the cool thing about the Ernest movies is they're really good stories. They're
Yeah.
not like dumb or anything like that.
And
you
they're
know?
and it's for kids, but like Ernest seems like a cool dude. Like he's like you always feel like he has a good camaraderie with the kids that he's working
right
with and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was my pick.
There was a huge lull right there. All right, Scott, what's your underrated movie?
I'm afraid to do this, man.
Why?
Well, you guys are gonna get ready to get bored.
Did I pick your movie? Was it
No,
Ernest
no,
Goes to
God,
Jail?
no.
Was it Ernest Goes to
Get
Jail?
ready to get bored.
Bored.
Oh yeah.
So an underrated movie.
Are you guys ready?
It's never boring.
It's a wonderful film from 1988 that starred Jeff Bridges called Tucker, the Man and His Dream.
Oh,
I've
dude,
never even
it's
heard of that one.
fucking great movie.
I know.
Was it actually horribly?
But it was really underrated, though. It didn't really do too much. It didn't really
Damn.
go any legs. What was that? What was your question?
No, I was gonna say, it did horribly? That sucks.
Yeah, I don't think it did very well. I mean, just to put this in perspective, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people listening may have not heard of this film.
I've never heard of it.
It's about Preston Tucker. The guy was a car designer, and he had Tucker Auto, and the guy designed a car. I mean, he was trying to make automobiles, and he challenged the auto industry with a lot of different weird car concepts at the time. And there's a lot to the story. I don't want to try to go into the details. It's pretty
Right.
nuts, and it's been a long time since I've seen it too. But I remember when I was going through lists and just trying to get ideas on this thing. I saw that one. I'm like, man, because I used to watch that I watched that on HBO a handful of times when I was younger, and it's a great flick. It's just a great flick. It's a historical piece. It's a biographical piece too.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's a historical piece. Jeff Bridges, of course, knocks it out of the fucking
course he
ballpark.
does.
He's Jeff Bridges, right? But I just thought it was just a cool historical movie. And if you're into automobiles, Tucker was this kind of brought Tucker back to light. Obviously, there were Tucker vehicles made. There are some still around. They're worth a fortune.
Basically,
sure.
he got shut out
Yeah.
by
The big
By
auto.
the big
like
three.
Ford
Big auto.
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
them basically shut him out. He didn't have the finances to keep doing
Making
what he
cars.
wanted to do.
He was building this shit. I mean, it's some really great scenes you see where they're just in a garage, just trying to figure out. They're engineers.
Yeah,
He's an
yeah.
inventor. He's an engineer. He's a genius. But like a lot of auto companies, this happens today. You have smaller
Yeah.
companies, and if you have a really great idea, they may come to you and say, "Hey, well, we'd like to buy you out." That's typical business nowadays.
course.
We're gonna
Big
soak
fish
up your tech.
Yeah,
and buy you out.
big fish eats the little fish. Google are the kings of that shit now. But he was more or less wanting to go on his own. He wanted to have his own company. And that's hard to do when you got people like Ford and GM. There was a lot of other little cool things involved. It's a great flick. I suggest people see it. It just didn't really grow any legs with people, I don't think. I think it may have just been a little too nerdy.
The funny thing about this movie is that it is great, and this is one of the last good movies that Francis Ford Coppola made.
Yeah, this
Oh,
was
dang.
Francis
He
Ford Coppola
directed
also.
this.
Yeah.
In the cast, like Jeff Bridges, Joan Allen, Martin Landau, Mako was in this, Elias Koteas, Christian Slater, Corin Nemec. Like, this movie was not lacking talent.
No.
It's very, very well done.
I think it's a great flick. Like I say, it just didn't really, and the ones I'm going here, I'm on more of this side. I think we were having this conversation before the show, and I think we kind of had a little bit of we're rubbing noses a little bit on whether, underappreciated and underrated, and they can be different things.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So we might be what we're all throwing out here from here on out. Yeah, we're kind of there may be a mixture of those
Right.
two, right?
But I kind of feel underrated. We've stuck with that pretty
we
well
really
so
have.
far.
Oh, yeah,
I think
for
this
sure.
movie was totally
Yeah.
underrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't think this was. I think it just wasn't. I watched it a handful of times, and it's a story. It's a simple story. It's not over. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of great courts. The courtroom scenes are fucking fantastic. So you do get that drama element, but really, it's a historical piece.
That's
you know?
cool.
And a lot
I
of
like
people.
Cars, so I'll watch that.
Yeah, it's cool.
You'll
It's a great
dig this
flick.
movie,
It's a
Yeah.
great
especially if you like history. It's
Yeah, I do.
really,
I like
really good.
history.
flick. And just some
I
of the
like
cool
Cars.
ideas he had. With cars.
Yeah,
it's
that's-
neat. So,
that's neat.
and I don't want to spoil it. So,
No, that's
yeah,
cool.
that's my my first one. I'm going to throw out here.
That
So,
wasn't even boring. You're
No,
What?
that wasn't boring.
underselling your
I know.
contributions.
You're underrated.
Stop underrating yourself.
I just got a self-esteem problem. Heather, it's your turn.
No, actually, it's my turn.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did go first, but go ahead,
Whatever.
please.
You can go. I
No,
don't
okay.
care.
I'm moderating this. Fuck to both of you. Heather, it's your turn.
Yes, Dad. All right, so
Go.
All
Go,
right,
go,
so-
go, 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 go.
this is a movie that we didn't talk about last week when we were talking about Robin Williams.
Okay.
And I wanted to make sure that I was getting it correct. But The Night Listener, with him and Toni Collette, and
Wow.
yeah, there's tons of people. There's a great talent in the movie. Actually, I didn't even look it up, but I don't even remember this movie coming out. It came out in 2001. I don't remember coming out in the theater, and it does not have a great review. I think Ebert gave it a decent review, but that's about pretty much
Come on,
everywhere.
2006.
Oh, 2006, sorry. Well, anyway, yeah, so that movie is super good. It's extremely intense. Have you ever seen it, Scott?
No,
Oh, man. Robin Williams
I'm
plays...
embarrassed to say that too.
He plays this radio host, like a nighttime show. What are those called? Just a
A nighttime show.
Yeah, a nighttime show, and he's going through a bunch of stuff in his life. He's gay, actually.
Okay.
Robin Williams is gay in this movie, and one of his, like, what is that? The producers of his show or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like a writer, and he's just having a really hard time, and they give him this like memoir of a 14-year-old boy who has been abused, and
Yeah.
long story short, he contacts them and they start developing this like telephone friendship, and so he decides to go and meet him because the kid's a really big fan. And I can't really say much after that because it gets really fucking weird. It's awesome. It's such an underrated movie. Like, anytime I ask anybody if they've ever seen it,
The Night Listener.
The Night Listener. Nobody has any idea what I'm talking about.
I've seen this.
Yeah,
I saw it when it
it's
first came
good.
out. It's
And
good.
Dude, and not only does Robin Williams, of course, he's amazing in it, but Toni Collette, this was after after Sixth Sense?
Yes.
Yeah, after
Well,
Sixth
yeah.
Sense, like a few years after, right? Sixth Sense was what, 99?
98 or 99.
Okay. So, and I don't know what she had done after Sixth Sense. Probably not a whole lot. I know she's not from around here. She's not American. I think she's like Australian or something. But Toni Collette in this movie plays like. Have you seen Hereditary yet?
Yeah.
Oh man! So okay, her performance in that is her performance in this too.
No
she
shit.
She is absolutely incredible in this movie. I can't talk this movie up enough. I
Hereditary.
actually would like to own it. Once we were doing the Robin Williams podcast, I was like, man,
We looked over that
we
one.
did. We talked about insomnia, and we talked about what was the photo booth or whatever.
1
The-
Hour
1 Hour Photo.
Thank you, photo booth. That's a totally different movie. But then Night Listener is also one of his like super underrated movies that nobody ever really liked. And
I never even heard of it.
oh man, Night Listener, it's really good.
going on
I'm
my
glad
list
that
now.
I'm bringing
It was
to
like a
light.
total like sleeper hit. Like
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
loved it, but it just didn't like do really well at
Yeah.
the box office.
Not at all. Nobody. I mean, the reviews I was reading for it earlier, they were like, "This is the most boring piece of story ever." I was like, "Wow." It's not like that at all. It's a really good movie, and it's super. And it's dark. It's like
And it's intense.
It's a very intense movie. Like, what would you say, the belly intense? Like we talk about Predator. What did you
Yeah,
say?
well, just the
belly of
tension.
intense? Yeah, but
Yeah,
man,
it just runs through the whole film.
that's basically this. Like the first, I'd say half an hour is your like they like talk about or they show you Robin Williams and what's going on in his life and how it's like messed up and he just needs one win, you know?
Yeah.
And then he gets it and then it's like this massive thing.
Everything
is not what it
unfolds.
seems and it's
Yeah.
man, it's a good movie. I highly suggest you watch it.
Chris.
Good homework.
I just want to piss the fanboys off tonight.
Are you gonna say Last Jedi?
Yep.
Yay!
Movie took a whole lot of shit.
It did. See, like Jesse mentioned that too, and I was like, man, I didn't think it was underrated though. I loved it. I thought it was perfect
But
where it is.
by
you know?
the general consensus,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
it is very, very underrated.
Yeah.
And this, I don't want to get into the fanboy backlash
course, of
bullshit
course.
because we'll be on that for an hour.
We should have a
But
Last Jedi talk.
Actually, you know, I've seen this movie about 6 times now. And the funny thing is that every time I watch it, the movie gets better.
Mm-hmm.
And you notice the little details that you didn't notice the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I was one of those people. I gave it a bad review. Well, not a bad review, a mediocre review
Right.
coming off of it the first time.
Yeah.
And then I saw it a second time and I'm like, damn, this really is underrated because
Yeah.
it's a very good movie
It's
that
a
could
great
almost
Star Wars flick.
it can almost stand alone. Like it doesn't have to be a Star Wars movie. It really doesn't. It could fit into so many different science fiction
Yeah.
genre type
Yeah.
things. But I think the acting in it is phenomenal. And I think Mark Hamill
Yeah.
does a great job
Oh.
at, you know, adapting and changing to who his character is now. So I don't want to stick on it for too long, but when I thought of underrated movies, this was one of the first ones that actually came to my mind
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, people like really despise this movie. Like
Yeah,
they're
well,
still
they were-
angry
Yeah,
about
they
it.
were like petitioning to
They
get it
wanted
out
the
of
movie-
theater.
Such a
Yeah.
strange reaction too, because like, you know, I'm not super into Star Wars. I don't have any like really like visceral connection to it, and I went and saw The Last Jedi and I was like, wow, this is actually a smart Star Wars movie and it's subversive and it takes the place somewhere new. Wow, this is great, and it's great cinematography and the music's good and the story is great. And then like 2 days later, everybody's like, it's the worst thing since fucking the Black Plague. And I'm just like, did I watch the same movies, you guys?
Yeah,
Am I
man.
missing some like Star Wars lore that makes this suck? Or
People
No.
I
put-
just like a good, well-told story that's. But I feel like, you know, a lot of Star Wars fans, they just want the same shit over and over again. They don't want anything to be different. They want I don't know. They don't want any of the characters to die from the other movies, even though they're like really old and some of them aren't even alive in real life anymore. They just want CGI recreations
yeah,
of
dude, that
them.
stuff. That's the only thing that I didn't like about any of that stuff was just the. At least in Rogue One, it looked awesome, but in Carrie, Princess Leia or whatever, I thought it was
Fisher.
Yeah, I thought it looked
Yeah.
awful
Yeah, Carrie
at the end of it.
Well,
I
all,
thought it
all
looked
that
terrible.
all CGI people look terrible to me. It just looks.
But you're
bad.
talking about Rogue One now.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I'm just
that
saying
looked
like
like
that.
shit.
Yeah, that
It
looked
did
like
look like
awful.
shit.
That looked
except for
terrible.
I fell
except for
asleep
what's his
during
name.
Rogue One. I thought that movie was super duper boring until
Oh,
like
I like
the
it.
last.
There was some
30
serious. The
seconds.
battle sequences were fucking off the
Well, I
hook.
woke up for that part,
That was
but
cool.
the rest of it I just didn't care about. I'm
Rogue
like,
One, those battle sequences were badass.
I thought,
but everybody
I-
likes Rogue One because it's like you know fucking it's basically like Star Wars
World War
fan
II.
fiction fucking jerking off in your face for 2 hours.
right.
It's all the people, you know. But that's what
I
they
didn't
want.
experience that myself.
Well, they don't want any real actual like progression in the story. They
Oh,
just
you mean
want,
like The Last Jedi?
yeah. They're
Well,
like,
but
just give
see,
us
this is the
same.
thing. Rogue One was attached to A New Hope.
Yeah.
Like there
Yeah.
were themes and things from the story that carried through. But it was what was weird to me is that with Rogue One, it was all different characters. It was a different story. They took a different approach to it. The battle scenes were more like heroic and like on the ground battle shit. They like totally changed a lot of Star Wars stuff for that movie,
Right.
and all the fans were fine with it. And then The Last Jedi comes out, and everybody's like, "Oh fuck that movie." They changed it. Like, dude, what do you expect?
Yeah.
What do you expect? We can't always be sitting at point A.
Especially
with
it's the 9th movie, right? Is this the 9th one?
that
That was the
that was the
eighth.
eighth.
That was the 8th one?
Yeah.
You're 8 fucking movies
that
into
series,
it, man.
yeah.
Something's going to change.
Yeah.
This is how life is.
So-
I thought Last Jedi was awesome. I thought
I
Mark
enjoyed it.
Hamill was great. I love the new Luke. It's not even the new Luke. I think you see some of that in Return of the Jedi. You see where he's, I mean, from the very beginning, he was always questioning everything, and he was always like,
Well,
this isn't how it should be, and
but the stupid thing is, most of these people that are underrating this movie, most of it is around Luke. But we beat this topic up. Luke becomes Yoda. Luke becomes Obi-Wan. He becomes a reclusive hermit, the same way that both of the people that he looked up to
right.
did.
He says,
It might
"Get
be
off my
inevitable
lawn."
for a Jedi for that
Yeah.
to happen. Maybe
Yeah.
it's just part of being one with the Force is that you become smart enough to where you realize
None of this shit
none
matters.
of it matters.
Yeah. So, anyways, moving off The Last Jedi, Michelle.
Well,
Show.
actually, my movie is a perfect segue because I picked Brick,
Ooh,
which is also directed by Ryan Johnson. And I also, it kind of makes me sad that Ryan Johnson is now forever like attached to The Last Jedi and everybody just poops on him because he's like a really good director, which was
he is.
one of the only reasons I was really excited about The Last Jedi. I was like, ooh, Ryan Johnson's doing it, and he writes fantastic movies. He did Brothers Bloom, which is fantastic.
Which is so good.
Looper, which is
Looper
very
is
underrated.
fantastic, and Brick, which I feel like is
Yeah.
one of his more underrated movies. Like a lot of people, like you ask them about Brick, they've never heard of it.
Every time I ask about Brick, they're like, "Yeah,"
Oh.
but most of the people that they only know it because of Lucas Haas.
Yeah. But so the premise of Brick is like it's a neo-noir movie. A noir movie being like, like old detective stuff, shadows, mystery, that type of stuff. But it's transported, like all that atmosphere and everything's just like transported into like high schoolers and teenagers. But they all talk like old school, old timey, and it's just such an interesting subversive idea.
Really my mom loved it.
Yeah, it's great.
She loved it. She thought it was funny. She thought it was a really good story.
Yeah.
She loved that it was about high school kids.
Mm-hmm.
She loved it. She thought it was
Yeah.
great.
But he nails all the things that make noir movies
Yes.
interesting.
Yes.
And like he he's very knowledgeable. Like you ever read interviews with him or anything, he's very knowledgeable about film theory, technique, cinematography, staging, all that stuff. Like he's super into that, and like you can tell that he loves film. And it just makes me sad that he's kind of he's connected to The Last Jedi forever now because
Right.
everybody he's going to be the
Because
Star Wars
everybody
guy.
hates it.
Yeah.
Well, those people all have to also realize that he is making 3 more Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And they're just going to have
be
to deal
mad
with
forever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to be mad for it. Or they'll come around
Yeah.
and they end up actually liking it. Which they should, because it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Adam Driver's, I mean, dude, Kylo Ren in that movie is so much better than even that was the only thing I liked about Force Awakens was Kylo Ren. And then Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi was just even better. God, I love Adam Driver though. Yeah.
it. All right. Are we
right.
moving on from Brick or no?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. What do you got for
All right.
us?
Well,
It's been a while
Lambert.
since I've seen that though.
very, very, very loose along with the Star Wars thing. You guys ready for this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Galaxy Quest.
I love
Galaxy
that.
Quest.
I love that movie.
Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, and
Yes.
Alan Rickman, dude.
Oh, Alan Rickman.
What a fucking
R.I.P.
awesome movie that was really hyped.
Yeah.
Hyped
And
all
nobody
the-
liked it.
Nobody liked it.
Nobody
Really?
liked it.
A
Nobody
lot of people liked it. It just didn't. It didn't
It just
recoup the way it was supposed
yeah.
to. It didn't. I'm going to say it again. It just didn't grow the legs that people
Yeah.
thought it was going to grow.
Yeah.
Right. But the concept of this movie, the idea of it was just hysterical to me. But it was also it's really, to me, there's only a handful of like really funny, like you got Spaceballs and
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ice
of course.
Pirates, which was basically another Spaceballs to me. It's really, to me, there's only been really a handful of like really like funny sci-fi movies that still maybe make you think a little bit like a sci-fi film is supposed to make you think, right? And Galaxy Quest,
Jesus, 99? Sorry.
yeah, it's been a while. Galaxy Quest, while it's a funny movie and it's got a really realistic timeline, I would say more pointing towards Star Trek than Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Right.
definitely.
It's the more the idea of that, but the actual sci-fi, the more weird elements of it. While they're funny as hell, like the whole movie's hysterical. But the ideas that they build around that, like this race of futuristic race just happened to see this TV show
Yeah.
from some weird transmission, and they think that these are their saviors, so they
Yeah.
build everything around that TV show to save their race of people from I forgot the names of
I
everybody.
can't remember the
But
villain.
I mean,
either.
one of the greatest scenes from that movie to me is they build this massive ship. It's a model after this Galaxy Quest ship, and they've never really seen it before. These people, they're actors,
Yeah.
Sigourney
Right.
Weaver and Alan Rickman and Tim Allen, and they're like, "Here's the ship," and they're like, and they're like,
Yeah.
and, they're like, "Okay, we'll drive it." And there was another character. They're like, "We'll
Yeah.
drive it."
He's
and
the command guy.
they like try to ease it out of the bay, and they just kind of scratch,
Yeah.
It's
one
like
side.
an entire minute. That it's just like
And he doesn't know what the fuck to do. And he's just like, and they're like, and they got it out, and they're like, yay! But they fucked the whole. I mean, they didn't fuck the ship up. They just kind of rubbed the
Yeah.
wall a little bit, like you do if you didn't know what the hell you were doing, like a boat. You know what
Right.
I mean? That's one of the most memorable scenes from that movie. It just
Or when they
makes me.
teleport that guy and he blows up.
Oh, yeah.
It's all
yeah.
nasty, like a big pile of gloop.
Yeah, there's
And
just.
they're like, oh.
They're like, oh.
It's just taken, I mean, let's just, like I said, it points more to Star Trek, really. It's taken that element, all them things that those guys did, like, flawlessly.
Yeah.
Like, they were actors, too. Leonard Nimoy, and all them. Oh, my God. Captain Kirk.
William Shatner.
William Shatner.
I'm still tired.
And Tim
of him.
Allen's like totally, channeling the
he
the
channeled-
William
he
Shatner
totally-
Oh, yeah.
arrogance.
That's the whole thing. That's
Yeah,
the whole
he's-
trip. It's
he
William
thinks
Shatner.
he thinks he's like the cream
King
of the
shit.
crop, and
Yeah, it's so the movie, it's an illustration, to me, or an analogy on how the people from Star Trek still feel to this day.
probably that's a good one.
It really laid that out, but then we get this really weird, cool story along with it that,
a
that-
really heartwarming story too.
it was, man,
It's a really
because
good story.
these people are like, we're tired of this shit. Like Alan Rickman's character is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I was a classically trained actor,
Yeah,
and this is
super
the only thing
Shakespearean.
that he ever did in his career that was people giving, and he hated it, right?
Yeah.
So like, at the end,
And his makeup looks all shitty.
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, yeah.
Peeling off and stuff.
At the end, though, we see them going, man, no, people really do care.
Yeah.
They love this. Why are we sleeping on this?
Why
These-
why are we looking down on our fans when it makes
Yeah,
them so
these
happy?
this is what makes them happy, And I know, and don't tell me that William Shatner hasn't had those feelings.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
He's done comedy skits on shit like that. But I guarantee you, even though I'm sure, another meet and greet, here we go. But those people I think they do know in their heart, anybody from any of the Star Trek series, for example, any of those franchises, they know that there's people like me that just that I adore those people, and that's their lifeblood. Fucking
Yeah.
deal with it, man.
Yeah.
But no, the Galaxy Quest is really warm like that. It's very heartwarming, like you said at the end, Heather, where you kind of just see this great ending, and they're
Oh,
going, "Fuck
yeah.
yeah, man, we are awesome still. This is
Yeah.
great." So I thought it was a really
And
fun
they-
film.
It's the best part about it is it really shows the good in them as well.
Yeah.
It's a very human being movie.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
But it's
hilarious too.
it's
God, that movie is
it's a
so
really
fun.
fun flick. Tim
It
Allen
is.
at his prime too.
And then
Yeah.
the CGI is really
It's
good.
a
in
great
that
looking
movie.
flick.
Yeah,
It's a badass looking movie.
it is.
The makeup was great. I forgot the name of the enemies, but they were fucking brutal looking.
Yeah,
they were
they were
mean
pretty
looking dudes.
gnarly.
So yeah, that's my poll. I thought Galaxy Quest was one of those movies, like I said, that it just didn't seem to grow the legs that they thought it was going to grow.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's
a good. Yeah, that's a good
fun movie,
That's
know.
a good. What's the word I'm looking for? Of way of putting it.
yeah. So yeah, that's my pick. So Heather,
Okay,
the
so
baton is yours.
all right. So my this is my last one. I'll probably be able to think of tons more, but the one that I actually the one that made me want to do this podcast, Just Friends. The
Oh,
comedy Just Friends
fuck
with
that
Ryan
movie.
with Ryan Reynolds, Amy Smart,
Ryan
Chris
Reynolds, too.
Klein,
I'll fuck them.
and Anna Faris. Yeah, that movie it's still. I seriously think it's. I honestly have no idea how well it. I don't think it did well at all.
All right, Anna Faris was fucking hysterical in that movie. She was
Everybody is Chris Klein is hilarious. in
Anna
this
Faris
movie.
cracked me up. I thought Anna Faris was fun.
I'm a blueberry. Yeah, like dude, just that whole, just
fucked
the
up.
entire movie. It's a
Fucked up.
great
Great.
story. I don't think it looks like crap at all. It's like one of
No,
those.
it's a great looking
You know,
movie.
it's kind of like Waiting. You know
Yeah.
how it was like one of those, not low budget, but just minuscule
Yeah.
comedy movies. You know, Accepted is another one. Like,
Yeah.
oh, so I
A
guess
whole
they do
bunch
have.
of those came out in like between like
same
2000
year.
and
Yeah.
2005.
But Just Friends, to me, the soundtrack is really good, but everybody's acting in it is just so great. And it's based on the director's, not the director, but the guy who wrote it. It's based
Yeah.
on his real life.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Not loosely, but it's mostly
Yeah.
real. So, yeah, that was something that I found out and was like, oh, Chris, whatever his name is, I can't remember his name in the movie now, but Just Friends is, oh my god, it's so funny. And I actually there's a band that plays in the movie called Rogue Eyes,
Yeah.
and it's like the main like love song between Chris and Jamie.
Yeah.
And they're really good. You probably wouldn't like them, but they're like indie, you know, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just kind of. But anyway, so there's a lot of. I think Just Friends is another one of those smaller comedy movies with a lot of like so many people are in this movie. Stephen Root is in this movie,
Yeah.
and
He's hilarious.
and like I'm pretty sure there's like an Alanis Morissette's in it and stuff like that. Like there's so many people in this movie. 'Cause
Isn't
Chris-
it ironic?
Yeah, because Chris is like he was like fat in high school, and then he,
Yeah.
you know, he goes off, but he goes off and becomes this Ryan Reynolds, basically this good-looking dude. But so yeah, that's
Yeah,
my
Amber
the
made me
last one
sit
I
through
have.
that.
I love that
You know,
movie.
the copy I have of that movie is on DVD, and I actually rented it from Blockbuster, and then the Blockbuster closed before I could return it. So it's like stolen, I guess. but-
Oh, that's
They
sweet.
didn't come after
It's-
you for
You
that?
got like
No.
8 years of late fees.
Yeah, I owe him like $30,000.
$30,000.
You should send it back to him.
You
It's
can
in, the,
file,
it's in the Blockbuster case and everything. Else.
That's
you can
funny.
file for bankruptcy.
Michelle don't give a
That's
fuck.
I'm pretty much the one that brought him down. Actually, like that was the last. Straw.
That was the last. Like, oh my God, she didn't bring it back. Fuck, close the doors.
God
It's
damn
actually
it.
it's one of my ultimate favorite comedies, and I don't even own it. I'm a horrible person.
You are a horrible
I
person.
No,
don't
Michelle's
own
a
it.
horrible person. She shut down an entire franchise.
Yeah.
With her DVD copy of Just Friends.
Yeah.
I
Way to
don't
go,
even
Michelle.
think it's on Blu-ray or anything like that.
I don't think it
Goddamn
is.
Canadian
I don't
comedy.
think it is. Yeah, but so it's so Just Friends is one of mine.
Whose turn is
That's,
it,
that's
Chris?
the other one.
It's my turn. Do you guys really want to know what it is?
No,
though?
Yes.
not really.
Okay.
Fuck you. Let's move on.
All right.
Oh, all right.
No, but this one, a lot of people don't really get into this movie, and I love it. Danny Boyle's Sunshine.
Oh, man, I love that
I never
movie.
saw that.
I don't like
that
that
movie
movie.
Amber
It's
loves
awesome.
that movie.
It is so good. It is
Music's
so
really good too.
The music
good.
is really good.
The music is good. The cinematography is fucking amazing.
All right.
And the visuals in this movie, just smoke a bunch of weed before you watch this movie. 'Cause
I will
it's-
say the end is pretty dope.
It's a total trip. Now, the one critique a lot of people made about this movie is it borrows a lot of thematic elements from Event Horizon. It's very similar in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. But yeah, Sunshine, great sci-fi. Totally great sci-fi. And I love all the characters in it. It has that like kind of alien setup
Yeah.
at the beginning where they're all like, hanging out at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then bad shit starts to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very underrated sci-fi flick.
bad shit.
I watch this all the time.
Well, you know what's cool
All the
about
time.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it and you're talking about it, what's cool is the bad shit isn't really it's like everyday bad shit, you know?
Yeah,
like for the
yeah.
most part of the movie, that it's, like random things happen to the spaceship. And it's like bad shit is happening
Yeah,
to
yeah.
them, like they're losing oxygen or their plants aren't growing anymore, and like things like that. It's actually a pretty cool concept now that I'm thinking about it, because I really don't like that movie, but I'll give it another watch for sure.
But like Cillian Murphy.
Oh, I
like,
know,
He,
he's so
he is great in this movie.
He is pretty good in it.
Everybody's
He
great in
needs
this
to be
movie.
in
No,
more
really,
stuff.
everybody is
I
good.
feel like
Yeah.
he hasn't been in stuff lately.
I think
Peaky
he's
Blinders.
hard. Yeah, he just does Peaky
Oh,
Blinders.
Yeah,
I've never
just
seen
a-
Peaky Blinders.
Oh, you'd probably love it actually.
I think he's another one of those though that's like really hard to work with.
Oh, like personally.
Yes, I think
Oh.
he's like very artistic and eccentric about
Yeah.
everything, and I think he's hard to rein in. You know,
He is
But-
too fine.
but yeah, he's a great actor. So I'm done with that one.
Sunshine. Nice
Michelle,
Good pick.
Let's see.
the killer of Blockbuster.
It was all me. So my pick is gonna be The Hunt
pick. Ooh.
with Mads Mikkelsen.
Oh god, that fucking movie.
Oh, that movie's too good.
It's one of these movies I actually do bring it up fairly often, and a lot of times people haven't heard of it. So I don't know if that exactly is like underrated. Maybe it's just like underseen. It's more of
Yeah.
Did
because
you
people
look
that
up-
have seen it, think it's awesome,
Yeah.
but it just doesn't come up in conversation very often, I guess. But it's just such a fucking brutal movie from beginning to end. I don't want to spoil, but I'll just say the basic premise is Mads Mikkelsen is in like a small, I think it's Swedish town,
Yeah.
and due to a mix-up in some stuff, he gets accused of being a pedophile from a little girl who the little girl's not being malicious, I don't think, but little kids, they make up
they
stories
don't know what
and
they're
stuff.
talking about.
So she says that she has a little crush on him, and he doesn't reciprocate, obviously, because he's a grown man. And she gets upset, and she's like makes up a little lie about him that completely blows out of control in this little small town that he's in, and it completely ruins his life. He gets ostracized. He ends up having to break up with his girlfriend. Starts getting violent with people trying to like
Yeah.
throwing bricks into his windows.
Yeah, doesn't someone kill his dog?
Why don't I say no?
Oh,
more stuff?
sorry.
But the stuff.
Somebody doesn't kill his dog, they pet his dog and they say good puppy.
Sorry.
Good puppo.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so
That's what
bad stuff
happened.
happens, and then it's just the rest of the movie is him dealing with the fallout of being falsely accused and trying to clear his name. But it's like so fucking intense from beginning. This movie's like really intense, and of course Mads Mikkelsen is like this amazing actor, so he's like
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic in the role, and it's like a very challenging movie morally because. Especially, if this movie came out now, I think it'd be a little bit more interesting reaction to it because of the Me Too
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
going
yeah.
on. So people might think it was maybe perhaps a critique of that movement, but I don't think it is. I think the movie is a critique on people
Jumping to conclusions.
jumping to conclusions and not getting all the facts before making a judgment call.
Yeah.
and putting their emotions into everything instead of actually looking
Yes.
at what really happens.
Yeah. And I understand in the movies, and I understand where everybody's coming from in the movie because obviously your initial reaction would be if a little kid says something, you believe him, right? Because like, why wouldn't you? You know what I'm saying? It turns out that she's lying, but it's bigger than that. It's more of like how.
It's a white
perception.
lie.
Yeah, it's like also how how perception can color the way somebody.
Perception is everything.
Yes,
Yeah, for
and this
sure.
movie, like that could be the tagline: "Perception is everything," because
Yeah.
everybody perceives Mads Mikkelsen's character to be a pedophile, so it is so, even though he hasn't
He didn't
done
do
anything.
anything.
Right.
It don't matter. Once
No
once
history of anything.
Once,
No,
the
no.
hooks go in, dude, you're done.
Well, and the messed up thing about in the movie is that he's like an active participant in the community. He's like a
Yeah,
teacher.
he's a
He's
teacher.
involved in the school.
That's
you
how the
know.
little girl.
It's his
the little
entire
girl,
life,
she has a
basically.
crush on him
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he's the teacher.
Because he's nice, he's a nice guy. It's just like
And he's
hard.
fine as fuck.
Yeah, I mean he's pretty hot. He's pretty hot, dude. But he plays
You
the
see
role
some Mads
just
butt in this.
great. Yeah, it's a really good movie.
You guys got me
It
really
is a
excited
really
right
good.
now.
It's on Hulu, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix.
Cool.
It was on Netflix because that's how I watched it. I'm not
Uh-huh.
sure if it's
Yeah.
still on there, but
Yeah, that movie's good, man.
All
I'm
right,
not
Mike.
sure. That's actually interesting. I'd like to know how it reviewed, because I don't think it came here until Netflix, right?
I saw it. That's how I watched it. Was
Yeah.
on Netflix, and I only watched it because it was Mads Mikkelsen, and I was like, and then
Yeah,
I
I
was like,
was like,
oh, that's
oh.
made me movie's fucking sad. What the fuck?
oh yeah, that movie's
It's like,
fucked up.
Well, of course, the director is works with Lars von Trier a lot, who also makes fucked up movies. So I could
Yeah.
see why it would be in that realm because
Yeah.
they like to make really emotionally intense, movies like that. So
Speaking of emotionally intense, have you guys ever seen Compliance?
No.
Nobody saw Compliance in this room.
Is Compliance the one about the girl?
Well, it's about
That's like
Yeah, so
that
what
was
about the
most
girl?
vague thing.
the
Well,
girl
but-
who did the stuff.
Yeah, but no, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, kind of. It's based on. I hate using this thing, but it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
True
But it really
story.
is. I actually remember when this news article came out. When this actually came out in the news about this weird situation that happened at a fast food restaurant. Compliance is a really bizarre film. I think the main reason that it didn't grow any legs either was because of the shocking. It's a very shocking type of film. And
It's
people
very
just-
exploitive.
What's
it's
it
very
about?
exploitive,
I'm
and
so-
people can't believe that people are this stupid. That's really what it came down to. Like, how
Okay.
could you be this stupid
Oh,
and
I
let
believe
this
it.
happen to you, right? And I don't want to spoil it too much, but I really don't want to spoil it at all. But more or less, just so people get an idea, a guy calls a fast food restaurant impersonating a police officer, and over the phone he gets to make these people do just ridiculous things.
And this happened in real life.
This was a real story. This happened. I remember this was on.
When did this come out?
This came out in 2012. The movie did. I think the actual incident happened in the mid or maybe the early 2000s.
I think it was 2010 is when it happened.
Well, that's when
No?
no, it was way before that. But I could be wrong though. I mean, but I don't remember it. I don't remember it being that recent.
That fresh.
But just some of the things that happened, and it was pretty accurate.
Very rapey movie.
yeah,
Oh, no.
yeah, it was very well. Yeah, but it was
But
pretty
he does it all
accurate.
through the phone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
through the phone.
Yeah.
He never
bas-
physically goes there.
No.
He never physically goes there. He calls and says this girl's a criminal and they need to take her into custody in the back room.
Yeah, until they can
And-
get there. We're stuck right now. We
And
can't
do
get there.
all kinds of nasty physical things to her.
Yeah,
This for real
Until he gets
happened?
it. This
real.
will
Wow.
happen in
Really?
real life.
yeah.
Yep.
This happened
Where?
for real. I forgot.
Did the people say why they did it? They didn't think it was weird, or
They were the guy said he was a cop.
and they were just like, okay,
Yeah.
What was this?
Yeah.
Is at
Well,
McDonald's?
It's so dumb.
I don't want to say the name of the organization like you did, Michelle, but
Was it?
I don't know.
There, he was like,
Does it matter?
he was like, clean the ice cream machine.
Clean the ice cream machine, but
make
do it
some
slow and
fries.
sexy.
Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
some fries.
No, it was really
Make her eat a McNugget. Not
okay.
another
It's
one.
Jesus Christ.
Was it like that? Because
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
watch it. It was-
yeah.
No, it was like now.
Why am I hungry?
Now
Cover her in that
search
Szechuan
her.
sauce.
Now search her.
Special sauce.
You know.
People really fell for this?
Yeah.
What the
Wow.
fuck?
Yeah, and that's
this
what makes the
flips
movie
me
so
out.
ridiculous.
That's what he's
Wow.
saying.
That's what makes the whole
probably-
story
yeah.
ridiculous, and it's ridiculous, but it really happened, and it happened for real to a young girl.
It was
I gotta
McDonald's.
look this up, man.
It was fucked
It
up.
was McDonald's as a waitress that was stripped and abused
Yeah,
over the phone.
over the phone.
And like they weren't in cahoots or anything.
No,
No.
Wow. That's like blowing my mind.
it's
How
crazy.
old were the people that did it to her?
Yeah.
Well,
They were like managers of the
Yeah.
McDonald's, basically.
well, a manager and
a
the
man
manager's
and a
boyfriend.
woman.
No, manager's boyfriend.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Manager's boyfriend.
Yeah, and the boyfriend comes in and she's like telling him, okay, he's saying do this to her now.
Yeah.
Now do this to her.
Yeah,
What the
Yeah.
fuck?
yeah, it's fucking crazy. And the
Wow,
guy was
I can't
caught. The
believe
guy
that
was
happened.
caught.
Wow.
The guy on the phone was caught. But yeah, it's
And he was
it's
sent to death penalty.
No.
no. He's probably still in jail though. But yeah, I thought this movie was just really, it was tense. It was disturbing, obviously.
Yeah.
And I know some of the things I read about it. People they were saying that when they were screening this at festivals, like you hear this a lot, but people were like literally just getting them going, "Fuck, come on, really, fuck this shit,"
Yeah.
and they're walking out.
Because it's so like
It's so
unbelievable.
ridiculous. It's so
unbelievable,
unbelievable,
yeah.
but it really did happen. It's crazy,
Wow.
man. So I got through it. I thought, yeah, I'm sitting there kind of going, really, fuck that. Because I
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not gonna say I don't know if you're in that situation. I don't know how you're going to respond, but I think I get to a certain point where if a cop told me, "Hey, you need to take her clothes off and give her a cavity check,"
Yeah,
I'm
like,
like, "Oh,
come
man, I
on."
don't think I'm qualified for that, bro."
But
Dude.
So,
there was that experiment that they did like in the 50s.
Yeah,
where
with
they
the
were
prisoners and the
they were,
guards.
Well, no, they were shocking people. They were.
Oh,
they
that
were,
too. I forgot what it's called.
It was to test how far people would listen to authority.
okay,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
maybe I know what you're talking about because I have it on my list.
Yeah, they were shocked.
I don't think it was in. No, maybe that's a different one. But you know what? If you guys don't mind, this is right along the same lines.
Or is it the Stanford prison?
The Stanford prison
Well, this is a
experiment.
completely different thing.
Yeah,
now.
this
This
is
is
a
okay.
different one that happened
But the Stanford
earlier.
prison experiment was. I mean, there was a film about that too
Yeah.
in 2015.
Yep.
based on some of those ideas, how far can we push somebody? How far can we get people to go here with this mock prison that they set up? And they wanted to see how people would respond back and forth. The one you're talking about, what was it? Do you know what the name of that was?
I can't remember who
It wasn't a
is.
movie, I don't
It wasn't
think.
a movie.
No,
it
it's
was just like they
and
had.
it was just an experiment.
Well, yeah, they just like would have a person, like a scientist that was conducting an experiment, and then they would have a person behind, like a curtain, and then they were connected to an electrode. They really weren't. Those two people are in on the experiment, and then there's a third person, and they would say, when you turn this dial, you're going to administer a shock. And then they kept telling them to press it higher and higher and higher, and the guy behind the thing would be like screaming bloody murder.
Yeah.
And they would just keep telling them to turn it
There
up.
was a
and turn it
movie
up.
about this, though.
Is there? Oh, I
yes,
don't know. I didn't see
I've
that.
seen this movie, and I
One of the
can't.
first 5 minutes of Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Well, it's similar kind of to that. It is kind of like that,
Yeah.
but like mean. Like basically, people were giving other people fatal amounts of shock
Because they're being told.
because an
to.
authoritative figure told
Yeah.
them to, and they were like surprised that almost
God,
every
I just
single
learned
person
about
would
this
do
too
it.
in psychology.
No, well, that's an interesting, and that's with compliance to movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It rides on that idea that they're being told that there is this authority figure that's,
Yeah.
look, you need to do this. You're being, and the thing about that, this voice on the phone, he was not only like coming off as this authoritative figure, like he was also like very encouraging. That's what I found really interesting too. It's like, hey, you're doing a great job. All right, you're gonna be seriously.
Yeah.
You're gonna be in the paper for this.
That's,
It's gonna be totally awesome. You're gonna be a fucking hero. You're doing a huge service to your community right now.
So how did they get him then? The guy just stopped, and then they were just like, he never got there.
I
so they-
forgot exactly. I think it got to a certain point where it's like, okay, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah.
And then the real cops were called.
Okay.
And they traced the phone line down and did all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
nerdy
Okay.
cop stuff. And
Yeah.
they
The
found
movie
guy.
that I'm thinking of, it's called Experimenter. It's from 2015. It stars Anthony Edwards, Jim Gaffigan, Peter Sarsgaard. 1961 famed social psychologist Stanley Milgram conducted a
There you go,
series of
Milgram.
radical behavior experiments that tested ordinary humans' willingness to obey authority. But
And
that's
along with this experiment, the further the authoritative figure was, the less likely the person would actually administer the shock.
Maybe in the further.
The further he was from the actual person. So like it started off with the person standing right next to them with a clipboard,
Yeah.
telling him what to do.
Push the button. Push or turn the dial.
Yeah. And then it went to like him stepping out of the room and telling him over the intercom to do it. And then it went from him on the phone actually doing it. And the further away from the person.
Well, they don't feel it. Well, because the threat's being removed from the situation.
Right, exactly.
See,
So it's
a lot of people look at,
surprising that-
not to get too far on the psychology of this, but I think people, but wait a minute. Compliance, the movie Compliance, the guy's on the phone.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like, huh. Well,
It's weird.
That's literally that he must have just.
Yeah.
He must have just been
he got
really good.
dumb fucking people on the
Yeah,
phone.
he got really dumb people.
Well, yeah.
That was like the fifth McDonald's he called. He was like, finally.
Well, the
Yeah.
thing was not now that we fist fucked the movie anyways. At the end, the guy that was caught. I mean, I don't know what the real story was, but the guy that was caught, he was more or less a telemarketer by trade. So
Oh, so that's
He
his
knew how to
job.
manipulate.
he knew how to
Yeah.
manipulate people. That's what, and he was
Yeah.
doing it. He was literally doing it to get himself off. He enjoyed that kind
Yeah.
of shit.
Right.
So,
So,
anyway,
so he was like a serial. He did it a lot.
I don't
Did they ever
know
say?
if that was the
I think he
case.
called around though until he got the right people on the phone that he knew
Well,
he could control.
the way the movie was portrayed is like they actually show the guy. They show the guy
Oh, okay.
at his home.
Who plays
talking-
the guy? Just the
I
indie
forgot who
dude?
it was.
I can't remember right
forgot who it
now.
was, but they show the guy, and he actually has a cup from the restaurant. So he just came from there.
Oh, okay.
So he cased the
oh,
joint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so let's move on.
Man, that's interesting.
Man,
Crazy movie, man.
I don't know. I don't really have any other ones.
Okay.
I asked Jesse and I asked my mom actually. My mom said that she thinks Lucy is underrated.
No.
She really liked Lucy.
Me and your mom are gonna fist fight then.
Well, she said that nobody likes that movie. It was pretty bad and
It's okay. Just when you've got somebody like Luc Besson, you expect more than you got from Lucy.
okay. I don't know. I
That's-
haven't seen it, but I was
Okay.
asking her. I asked her. I asked Jesse, and Jesse's number one, of course, is Speed Racer, which
Yeah.
I completely agree.
That was on my list.
Okay,
Speed-
I assumed it was going to be on your list.
Speed
That's why I
Racer.
just never said it. He also mentioned Constantine, the one with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
That movie I mean, I don't know. I loved it. I went and saw it in the theater a few times. Everybody that I know that knows it likes it, but I don't think it did very well.
It didn't do well at the box
No.
office, and it got critically hammered.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's a good movie, and it's most probably because it's not the Constantine.
Yeah.
He's not blonde. He's not British, and
It's
whatever.
a good movie. It's just not a good Hellblazer movie.
Yeah, I
Right,
mean,
right.
it's still. I mean,
Like, if
it
they
was
just
called
call it
something
something
else,
else, yeah.
for sure. So I think
Hell
it just got a bad
Detective.
rap because of the name. But I thought it was a really good movie, but whatever. So yeah, I just Batman vs Superman. I'll just say that again because that movie is so fucking underrated.
So, one was brought up to me the other day, and I didn't even really think about this, but Better Off Dead.
Great.
Better Off
movie.
Dead is a very
Criminally underrated.
Criminally underrated.
Criminally underrated.
This movie was brought up to me the other day by somebody who had not seen this movie that said, "You're a big fan of Better Off Dead. I really don't get it. You know, did you see that movie when it was out originally?" I'm like, "Yeah." I saw
No,
it in the
you don't
80s."
get it. You don't get it.
Right. But that we like it because of nostalgia. I don't
that
like
movie
it
was
because
just
of
the shit. I could sit down and
nostalgia.
watch that movie right now and love it because
I could sit down and watch this movie back to back. There are
Yeah.
so many amazing lines in
that
this
movie holds right up.
I made Jesse watch that
Great
just
flick.
recently.
I mean, seriously.
yeah.
Tell me, Badger, it's a little boy like you doing
Doing a
big
smut
boy,
like this,
big boy smut
smut
like this. Sorry, kid, ain't got a dime. I mean,
Yeah.
you can go on and on and
There's
on.
a whole mountain of this shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what the street value of this snow is, or this mountain? Oh, I love that movie.
Brilliant movie.
It's a great movie.
I think this movie gets buried underneath like the 16 Candles and the Breakfast Club,
Pretty in Pink.
Pretty in Pink, all those other 80s comedies. This was a little more comedy though than
Yeah.
those, but it still had that teenage angst.
It had the anti-hero and
It's
the
a
hero
great
and
boy gets girl movie.
yeah, I mean, it's the first movie I ever saw a TV fireplace.
Oh, Alice, you sure do go to the outer limits. I mean, it's like
That movie's a shit.
French dressing, French fries, and a drink, Peru. What the fuck?
It's not even called Peru.
Exactly.
And I love her laugh. She's always like,
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
so fucking weird.
Yeah, that movie just was a riot. There was another flick about. Oh, you know what? I don't want to try. I'm not even going to try right now.
Oh, I just thought I won.
Lane Meyer.
Summer School.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
that was a riot too.
Yep.
But I don't think it did very well. I think it also got buried underneath. Movies were coming those movies came out. What was it? By the dozen.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
there
yeah.
was a lot of
Late
those. They
80s,
were
you know?
cranking out shitloads
But
of these comedies, man.
I think Summer School got buried, and it's severely underrated. It's a great story. It's
What was
got
the one with Bobcat Goldthwait on the island with the boats and shit?
Oh, God.
no.
That movie was
Oh,
just
God, what is
another
that?
one, right? That was the same type of flick, man.
Man, I
And
miss
Oh,
Sam.
I think it's the same director of Better Off Dead.
it was the same.
Yeah,
It was the same
because John
damn
Cusack
movie.
is in it.
Yeah, Cusack's in it also.
It's called Can't Say or Can't.
I don't know. Chris is looking it up right now.
The
That
same
movie was
director.
great because Bobcat. That was him.
Oh yeah.
Coming out. I think that was after Police Academy.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And he still was doing the Bobcat thing, which is just
His voice.
one of the all-time funniest things I've ever seen from a comedian or an actor. The guy he still smokes it. Bobcat Goldthwait. Well, Chris is pulling up information right now.
One Crazy Summer.
There
One
we go.
crazy summer.
He played Egg Stork.
Oh, the
They turned
names.
the boat. They like ripped up the guy's Ferrari and put the motor in the back of the boat for the boat race, and they just kicked the shit out of everybody. It was just a hysterical movie.
Savage Steve Holland
Oh,
was the director.
dude. Yeah. Okay. But those movies we mentioned right there, they're kind of all in that same. They're under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
And they're all hysterical.
Yeah, they're great. They're
They're
just
a
great.
friggin'
just
party.
great
They're
movies,
a party to
man.
watch. They're so much fun to watch. So any of those ones we mentioned are really great. I mean, and to me, though, they will all those are under the heading of criminally underrated.
Yeah, for sure.
They were just really fun movies to watch. You know, they had
Really good stories too. That's the thing about these underrated movies, man. They're like really good stories. They're moving. You know, you find yourself in
you're
these
rooting
flicks.
you're rooting for the right people. You know who to
Right.
root for. You know, it's very well defined who the asshole is and who the cool person is, and you're rooting for the right person always. It's very easy to do that. They're fun movies to watch, and it's just as simple as that. So any of those ones we kind of spawned off into
Yeah,
the shit. They're
that was
great.
good though.
Better Off Dead is my favorite.
Better Off Dead's
If
incredible.
you
movie.
like, literally, Star Wars all day long, of course, from the 80s. But if you gave me a choice between
Better
Ferris
Off
Bueller and Better Off Dead,
Oh, Better Off
Better
I'm
Dead.
Off
sorry, I'm
Dead.
going to watch Better Off Dead
Better
every
Off
Better Off
Dead,
Dead
for sure.
all day long, dude.
Oh yeah. I'm
Better
glad we're
all
all
day
on the
long.
same page.
$2
$2.
cash. Genius,
Oh,
man.
that movie is
Can't
too
kill
good.
that. You can't.
Dude, and like the Everybody Wants Some scene.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so good. I love Van Halen. And
That
the
animation.
$2 thing went for. It still goes on.
It still goes
Every
on.
once in a
Yeah.
while, I find myself at work with somebody like $2, like just whatever. If $2, it was $2. I'm like, cash. I mean, I just
Give me
that'll
my
never
$2.
leave me. The $2 kid will never leave me. And I was a paper boy too. So there was that whole fucking running joke, like, even some of my customers were like, $2. And we had that thing. That's how popular that movie was. I mean, it was, again, criminally underrated, but it just
Yeah.
had that, it's got that cult following now.
Oh, for sure.
Better Off Dead will always, it won't leave people. It'll just be there. Michelle, what about you?
You got
What
another
about
one?
Bob?
Hurry up, Michelle. Hurry, Michelle. You need to
Oh,
go.
well, I don't know if this one maybe is super underrated, but Starship Troopers.
Oh,
Dude, badass flick.
I always
did
feel
that
like,
do bad?
I don't think,
I don't
I don't think it lived up to the hype.
I think it's like more of a cult movie.
Yeah.
Well, now it is for sure.
I think when it first came out, it kind of did okay, but it like later when it came out on DVD and Blu-ray, like it really super blew up on home video.
Yeah, yeah.
And people saw it like more, and of course all those shitty sequels came out, which they sucked.
They're
But
terrible.
the original one is just fucking such a classic movie.
Yeah.
It's just like and the CGI still looks pretty damn good.
Oh, it does.
I was surprised.
CGI looks good, and there was some really interesting, like their interpretation of the future. There were some
Yeah.
interesting ideas with that, like with the whole like unisex thing.
Yeah.
Like they're all in a locker room together, like
Yeah.
nude. I know, and that when the time what year did that I don't know if you had that. I forgot what year that had.
I think
That
it came
was
out
in the
like
90s.
98 or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it
that.
came
I mean,
out
that
late
time,
80s
I mean,
or-
even back then, I remember watching that on VHS. There you go. Watching it on VHS. Rented it from like some Blockbuster about a week before you shut them down or whatever. No, that was probably a couple of years before you shut them down. I'm like, dude, I heard about this chick who totally shut down Blockbuster. I can't rent my movies now. Fuck, I was really mad. But no, I remember getting that and watching. That was one of the things that popped out. Not because there was titty, but because I'm like, wow,
yeah.
they're in a locker room and they're all just having this conversation,
Yeah.
like not even saying anything together. And there was another really hilarious scene in that movie that I really loved. Is the two are having, they're getting it on,
Yeah.
and all hell breaks loose. And I forgot the guy's name.
Michael
He's like-
Ironside.
Yeah.
yeah. He comes in there and he's like, "Hey, we gotta be out here in 15, or we gotta be out here in 10 minutes." And then he sees him like laying in the tent, like half naked.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Okay, right away, man." And he kind of comes out. He's like, "Make it 15."
Yeah.
I thought that was genius.
Yeah,
I mean, it was so much
it's pretty
fun.
good.
I always
You know,
thought it was awesome how the first time they go to the bug planet, they get fucking wrecked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They get straight wrecked when they go there. And like a lot of movies don't do that. Like, they would all go there and be like, no, they get murdered.
Like thousands of
just
troops get
fucking
murdered.
just demolished. The only other thing I've ever seen do that is Attack on Titan, which is anime, but that's the only other thing I've ever seen with a group that they build up a group of individuals to go do a mission, and then the first
Yeah.
mission is get fucking
They
wrecked.
just get
Yeah.
annihilated.
well, I mean,
like they didn't understand like
Saving
how-
Private Ryan
Yeah.
portrayed that a bit too. And that, which I mean, that's far from an underrated movie.
Yeah.
But that idea you're talking about, that I remember seeing that. We may have talked about that here before.
Yeah,
That
we-
opening scene, that first half an hour, it nauseated me.
Yeah.
Not because of the gore, just because of the camera work, but just watching those, hey, yeah, what's up? We're on a boat. Look
Yeah,
at me.
and
We're gonna
then
go
they'll
here.
just-
We're gonna learn
as
this.
soon
Hey,
as
that's
the
really.
things-
Yeah.
Yep.
And they just
Because
literally.
you can't really train for that. I mean,
No,
no
you
matter how
can't.
well you train, you just if you're outmatched, you're
Yeah.
outmatched. You know. It's
But
like-
Starship Troopers really threw out some, I love that, Ironside's character, that
Yeah.
hard exterior, but he still had a sense of humor
Mm-hmm.
about him. Like, a sense of real, like, okay, we're real people. He was kind of a nice guy,
Yeah.
but he was hard, he was a commander. And just, like I said before, there was just some really interesting ideas that movie portrayed. Plus some really disturbing shit. I mean, there was some
I
pretty
think a
weird
lot of
stuff to
people
watch.
didn't catch like when it first came out that it was satire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
Also-
thought they
Well,
probably
if
thought
they
it was totally
they didn't watch it
serious.
to the end, if they would have
Yeah.
watched it to the end, then they would have. Oh, now I get it.
Like it
right?
seemed like some people act like they think that movie's pro-military, but it's very obviously not. And it's
Yeah.
making fun of that like mentality. But a lot of people kind of took it at face value.
Yeah.
The visuals in that movie are so fucking awesome.
They're great.
Yeah.
They hold
It's a
up. Like I
wonderful
watch
looking
this
movie.
all the time. I watched it again a few months ago, and I'm like, holy shit!
Yeah.
Like these effects from 20 years ago,
Yeah.
look way better than anything we see today.
Yeah.
Way better.
Some of it's practical too, which
oh
I
yeah,
think is why.
yeah, yep.
Yeah, beautiful movie. That was a good call. Really good on that one. Do we want to keep going with this, or we want to call it a night?
I think we can call it.
We had
We
some
went through
really
a
good.
lot.
Yeah, we had
Yeah,
some
dude,
really
I
good
barely even
choices here
touched my
tonight.
list, but that's cool. Like we got
That
some
was
really
the
good
last
stuff.
one on my list.
Oh,
Yep.
that's great.
Well, I'm glad you accomplished something tonight, Michelle.
That's right. I win.
I got like 50 movies
Something.
on here.
No, that's good though. That's exciting because we could do
You do another one.
another
This
one.
is one of those ones we can come back to. I think.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
cool. We can. There's lots.
We
of,
always say that, and then
Yeah.
we're like, let's come up
Well,
with a new idea.
we haven't talked about everything about movies yet.
Yeah.
When we finally get to that point where now we've talked about everything with movies, we can come back and revisit things again.
We can-
Episode
we can do-
10,000.
I was gonna say when we
Yeah.
get to like our 10,000, we're like, okay,
we can
think
finally
we did
start
it.
The volume 2s of stuff.
Yeah, I think we finally did it, guys. Let's move on to the next project.
Yeah.
episode number 10. Oh, this is real crime. Episode number 10,001. So
the last
that's the
breath.
future. We should have got some strings for that. Here's us in the future.
All right. This is
Here we go. I'm so
episode
fucking tired.
94
I'm done, dude.
of Real Crime. We'll be back next week to finish up our Friday the 13th.
We're gonna do that.
Yeah, we're doing that with
With-
Don.
Yeah,
with
with
the guys.
Sellerman's.
Yeah, guys from
from
Sellerman's will
Sellerman's.
be out here next week to finish that up.
Hip, hip.
Hot.
And then remember, October, we're doing all horror all month.
Oh yeah, I'm
So,
so excited.
All horror all month.
All horror all
horror.
month. Yep.
That's a lot of whores.
Yep. 4 horrors in a row.
4 whores in a row.
I got
4
some,
whores skipping
It's
years
like a party
ago.
at your mom's house in
I got
October.
some goodies.
All right, it's cool,
All
dude.
right.
I'm
You
done.
sound like a projector. Digging for some gold. Ooh.
Okay, now he's pooping his pants. With that, we're out of here.
Visit us at www.themoviesleuth.com and find The Movie Sleuth on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and iTunes.